Welcome to Unofficial Canon, a Star Wars podcast. I am Tavin.
I'm Brendan.
And we are continuing our conversation from last week about the Phantom Menace.
Maybe we'll get to my second note today.
Maybe. So the point where we were at in the last episode was Qui-Gon Jinn, Jar Jar Binks, and Obi-Wan Kenobi were going through the planet's core to get to Theed, the capital city of the Naboo. So they do that.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the planet's core, and they get attacked by various fish monsters.
Yes.
Qui-Gon throws out a line. There's always a bigger fish.
And Lucas makes sure we see that.
Yeah. We think we get attacked by one giant fish.
Yeah.
And then
it gets saved by a bigger one.
By a bigger one eating that fish. And I actually watched this with my wife. Sometimes her commentary was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, and because she's not invested, she's very flat, and she just goes, "That's not a fish," because it looks like a porpoise, maybe, like it's got like hands.
Yeah, and at one point there's definitely a very big crocodile/alligator type thing.
Yes, which is made famous by the Disneyland ride Star Tours.
Oh,
because there is, if you're familiar with that ride, you go on a tour in Star Wars. And there's different paths that you take, and there's one where you end up in Naboo and you go in the water and you get attacked by that alligator thing that also attacks the ship. And in fact, again, my wife said, I know that because of Disneyland.
You see, I haven't been on Star Tours post prequels. So I just got...
So the last time you were on it was the old robot.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Now I want to go to Disneyland with you because, okay, well, so first of all, they changed it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, now that robot, I can't remember his name, which is unfortunate because he's a great little funny character from, something you would see in the holiday special, basically.
Yeah.
They replaced him with C-3PO because that's what people know, Star Wars.
Oh.
And then R2-D2 is, apparently on the ship, too, but you get, a little vid window of R2-D2 doing beeps and stuff. But as you're in the line... There's various Star Wars barrels,
mm-hmm.
and one of them is cracked open, and there's this that robot from the original, and he if you sit in line long enough, occasionally he malfunctions and says things from the old ride. And the first time I saw this, after I was just like, I'm so sad now, because it's so sad. It's like when that robot gets its legs burnt for no reason.
Oh, yeah, and he
Jabba's
squeals.
pounds. Yeah, it's just because it's let's torture droids, because that's fun. Star Wars!
Back on track. Phantom Menace.
Okay, so they're going through the planet's core. They get attacked by various monsters.
Various fishes.
And I would like to point out that Qui-Gon through this whole thing is cool as a cucumber.
Mm-hmm.
Jar Jar's freaking out.
The native on the planet.
Obi-Wan's, you can tell he's a little freaked out too, but Qui-Gon's just no, we're not in trouble yet.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. We're going to be fine. He's just he's so the Force is taking us where it needs to go. We're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
He's hippy dippy.
He's just so mellow. And it's okay, sure. And I bring this up because it's going to come back into play later.
All right.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure there's a scene where they cut back to Sidious or something. The movie cuts back to the Viceroy on the hologram phone with Palpatine way too many times.
Yeah.
I really noticed actually reading the book, because it'll be here's 4 paragraphs of a scene and then here's 2 paragraphs of them on the holophone with Sidious, and
let's cut back to them doing things now.
The going through the planet's core is a really good example of. So you have an A and B plot in a movie because at some point your A plot gets a little boring. You need to do a time jump. So you jump to another story that's more exciting,
mm-hmm.
and you play out the exciting scenes until there's a wait state, and then you jump back to your A plot. But this movie literally goes, here's something exciting, pause, jump to something else that's supposedly exciting or plot worthy, jump back to the exciting. And it's you have all these different threads that start going, and there's some that you don't find interesting at all.
Yes.
And some that you are really invested in. It really comes into play at the end of the movie, and when we get there, we'll talk about it. But this is the first time it comes up. So long story short, a bunch of garbage is happening in our A plot where the Viceroys are taking various actions the Jedi are making their way to Theed, and at some point Sidious is like, you're going to execute all of the leadership, basically.
Right.
And like they specifically make a reference to taking the camps. So we are now officially introducing Holocaust references
Yes.
in Star Wars.
Yes.
So like
They're minor.
They're minor, yes, but they're there.
Yes. Because the Queen and her entourage is getting processed.
Yes. They're going to be processed, which I'm guessing has something to do with putting them in some kind of chamber that we fill with green gas.
But this time, no birds around.
No birds around.
What I like thinking too is that like they've got to get her signature on this treaty to make the invasion legal, which is a bizarre plot point. And they're going to do that and then kill her? Or like where that comes into it, I don't understand. Because they're always like, she needs to sign the treaty to legalize the invasion.
Yeah, I have no answers for that.
And it's like, okay, put her in a camp. You think that's going to convince her?
Well, like through the whole movie, they're kind of like torturing the people. Like supposedly people are starving and dying, and it's supposed to be
And it's
like,
never shown.
never shown. And it's supposed to be the pressure that they're putting on the Queen to get her to do something, but it like I don't know, it's done so poorly that you just don't get that sense at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Jedi kind of like they're like hiding up in a bridge or a balcony or something, and the guys are kind of below them. They're with Jar Jar, and then they jump down.
Yeah.
The
When they make it, because they come up into the harbor, which
Yeah.
isn't being watched by anyone.
Then
And
we hard cut to the Queen.
Yeah, and she's being led out,
Yeah,
and then they're like, just send her with some guards to be processed,
some droids.
which is like 6 of them, and then we cut to the Jedi and Jar Jar on the little like second story of the building where they see them being led. No other people, no nothing, and then yeah, they jump down and save her.
The reason that I bring up this weird little like balcony scene is that this is again my wife having very keen eyes and also being a fan of Ewan McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
Is she was like Obi-Wan's wearing a wig
Okay.
at this one little like bridge shot, and so this is when little tiny scenes of the reshoots start showing up in the movie, and and I only noticed them because my wife mentioned that he's wearing a wig in them, and they're always these little tiny connecting scenes, like this little just like little shots to bridge stuff. And like if you know anything about the deleted scenes for Phantom Menace, there's a very famous scene that we don't see when they come out of the river and then they're floating in the lake. There's actually a waterfall.
Oh yeah,
and like
yeah.
They almost fall off the waterfall, and like if you're familiar with the Jar Jar as a Sith Lord theory, there's like a shot where he jumps like 15 feet in the air and there was no danger for him at all or something.
Right.
And that scene got removed. And I think this scene was kind of put in its place to be like, here's the connection between the different scenes.
Right. Here's how they got from the harbor to
or
rescuing.
It's just a little thing that you needed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to bring up more of these little like weird, like, why didn't you think to, anyway, so.
See, but that was the first one. That's weird. You'd think, because we're what, like half an hour, 45 minutes into this movie? They would have tried to do some more reshoots with the first bit.
They pushed this movie back by a year.
Yeah.
Like, they could have reshot the whole movie if they wanted to. It's weird that they would just be like, all right, we'll just make a few little changes.
Mm-hmm. And like, the minor details.
Yeah, like...
Well, no, whatever.
I don't get it.
Lucas is going to do what Lucas does.
Yeah. Anyway, as you said, they jump down. They chop through the Roger robots like butter.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we're going to get out of here. And the Queen's like, this way to the hangar.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's her Captain Panaka or whatever his name is.
Yeah, one of the two are like, let's
go to the thing. And so they go to the hangar. They waltz in.
Nobody
no problem at all. There's like a group of pilots that look like a kindergartner class.
Sitting cross-legged.
Like just surrounded by droids.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon just comes up to the droids. He's like, I am the Chancellor's doobly-doo.
Yeah.
I'm taking these people to Coruscant. And they
that does not compute.
And then they just start like cutting droids down. And if you watch this scene, like the droids just kind of pop out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's obvious they were just like, okay, Ewan and Neil, just
Liam, just
slash things, and we'll just put it in post. Because they literally like, I remember one shot where like Obi-Wan like He's like facing away the camera. He turns around and like a droid literally just pops up like from the bottom of the frame up, and then he slashes it. And it's like, what was that droid doing on the ground? And the other thing is they free all these pilots and you never see them again.
Well, no, at the end.
Yeah, but where did they go? Did they stay on the planet?
Yeah.
Where did they go on the planet?
The Gungans.
They're in a city surrounded by droids.
They grabbed some scuba gear and they went swimming down. And then when everybody comes back, they're like, oh, now's our time to shine. We're pilots. Get us out of here, Gungans.
Sure.
Through the planet core. Yeah, no,
Well,
that's all crap.
The one thing I will say is that the book,
Yeah.
Terry Brooks again tries to fix this
Does he?
by occasionally mentioning that like there's little pockets of resistance.
Oh, that's nice.
Because of course there would be, right?
Absolutely.
And then you can explain that these pilots
went off and joined the resistance and
then they show up at the end of the movie
hop in their planes and
then do the things.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take it, Terry Brooks.
At least it's something.
So they get in the ship, this big shiny Nubian.
Yeah.
Which has a very specific name, which Qui-Gon says a couple of times, and I don't recall what he calls it anymore. But
well, it's a big deal when they get to Tatooine.
Yeah, because they're looking for parts for a J-37 Nubian or something like that. But they get on the ship, and they're flying against the blockade, which is a blockade, I guess, in three-dimensional space that seems to take up
a single plane,
a quarter of space. You just go up. Just go up for a light year and then go down, go that way for a light year. But again, so this is where it's like,
or even like leave, and before you get to the blockade, just jump to hyperspace,
or something, right?
You know, point up.
Well, and they I don't know.
Yeah. Again, third note: blockade running, whole thing makes no sense, and it doesn't.
It doesn't. But at the same time, it's kind of nitpicky because it's like. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Like, space never makes sense in movies.
No, that's true.
No one utilizes space properly. So I will defend it in that sense at this point. But I agree.
I think, so what it does do is something that is not a massive problem with the Phantom Menace, but does pop up every now and then, is the introduction of characters that Star Wars fans know and love. And the blockade running does allow us to be introduced to R2-D2.
This is true.
Which is important for when they get to Tatooine and you have that pivotal scene of R2-D2 and C-3PO meeting for the first time. And you need that. It's the same as you know, the whole Anakin Skywalker, please meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, these things are critical. There's no way you couldn't have them in the movie. So I think the blockade running as an introduction to R2-D2.
Do you think, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but when Qui-Gon introduces Anakin to Obi-Wan, do you think they're setting up so that in the next movie they're going to fall in love? Because, I mean, it's done in such a, blasé way. Obviously, it means that those characters are going to fall in love.
I mean, if Phantom Menace was made in like 2009, yes. But 1999, no, that's way too early for a gay relationship in Star Wars.
For listeners who are lost, I am making fun of people who think that just because in The Last Jedi, Poe and Rey kind of meet and have niceties at the very end of the movie, that somehow sets up some kind of deeper relationship foreshadowing.
What I like about that theory too, a complete tangent to Phantom Menace, but Poe has proven through 2 movies to be a charismatic character. Rey has proven to be, through 2 movies, to be a charismatic character. When these 2 charismatic characters meet, they're being charismatic because that's who they are. And then people are like, did you see the way they looked at each other? There's something going on there.
They're going to touch butts. That's what's going to happen. No, anyway, those people are dumb. Anyway, moving on. So they run the blockade.
Yeah.
And we meet R2-D2.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another little connector scene that exists here. So there's a shot where Obi-Wan takes Jar Jar to the lower bowels of the ship maybe and just says, stay here.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar sees the droids. Obi-Wan has his wig on at that point too.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, was that
I mean, that if I was Ewan McGregor and I got called back for a reshoot of that scene, I'd be like, can't literally any extra do this? Does it need to be Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Obi-Wan. Has to be Obi-Wan. And it's in the book too. So it's like, that's the other thing I'm confused it's very confusing. But anyway, that is a reshoot scene because he's got his wig on it. And Jar Jar sees the 4 droids.
Yeah.
And in the book, actually, when they go up to do the thing, Jar Jar actually breaks one of the droids before he even goes outside, because I don't know why it needed to be in the book. Just because Jar Jar's big and dumb and stupid and nobody likes him. That must be why.
Misa clumsy.
Anyway, so the droids go up and they're trying to fix the shield generator, which I guess is failing. Like, it hasn't failed yet.
No, it got knocked out, but the shields were still up.
Yeah, because the
residual power or something. I don't know.
Because there's a point where they're fixing it, and then he goes, the shields are gone.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, R2-D2 saves the
plugs
shields.
it in.
Well, it's not just that he bypass, he's like, that little droid did it. He bypassed the main blah 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 blah, like techno babble.
Yeah.
So R2-D2 obviously did something creative to make the shield. It wasn't like he just fixed them. He did something R2-D2E.
Worthy of introduction to royalty.
Yeah. Obviously.
Which, yeah.
So anyway, they get past the blockade, and they're like the moment that they're past the ships, there's no danger, but it's leading up to it, they're there's so much danger, and they're still the moment they get past that donut ship.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're fine, which is weird because you'd think for at least another 5 minutes they'd be shooting at them.
And sending fighters?
Because they don't
anything.
They don't even jump to hyperspace yet.
No, because I got to pick a planet.
Yeah. So then they're oh, the hyperdrive is leaking, which means hyperdrives leak. Okay, yeah. Sure. Doing some world building here, explaining some and Obi-Wan's here, Master Tatooine, and they don't go over any other options.
No, there's one planet
just
from Naboo.
Yeah. And here
to
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's 4 or 5 planets, but I don't know why. I don't know.
Just Tatooine.
Well, and I thought the thing is, reading the book, there's a line where Panaka raises some objection because it's some smuggler world, and this is in the movie, and he does it, and they just Qui-Gon says something we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, just trust
me. But in the book, he specifically says and I thought I remembered seeing this in the movie, but I don't remember it in this watch through where he says, well, it's run by the Hutts, and he said, yes, but the Hutts aren't looking for us.
Oh no, they say that when they land.
See, that's earlier in the book. And I got confused.
Because they're walking through Mos Eisley. I think it's right before Jar Jar steps in the poop.
Oh, you're right.
But Padme's why are we here?
You're
know.
Right. So they must have moved some exposition around too in the reshoots or something. Anyway, so we can basically jump there because nothing really happens. No. They get to Tatooine, and then Qui-Gon. And this is actually going back to Jedi wear these robes, and everybody knows what they wear. He actually changes his clothes.
Yeah, he puts on a poncho.
And it's very similar to what Luke Skywalker is wearing in A New Hope. So these are obviously farmer's clothes.
Yes.
They mentioned it in the book that he changes to be a farmer. And then in the book he explains that the only reason he takes Jar Jar and and R2-D2 is to seem less conspicuous.
Right.
Because he wants, because I guess it's a weird place full of different species, and that's the thinking.
One lone human would be weird. A human, a reptile, and an R2 unit. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, I believe Jar Jar's closer to an amphibian than a reptile.
How many fish can walk around outside?
Oh, we'll check my everything you know about Star Wars book and see if there's a fact in there about Jar Jar. I'm sure there's a whole 3-page spread in it for some reason.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, and then they're leaving, and then Padme, also known as Panda Bear, I like to call her Panda Bear because that's what Red Letter Media calls her. Panaka comes out and is the Queen wants to send Panda Bear out with you, to learn about the thing. And this is the point where I'm rewatching it. I'm does Panaka know that Padme
is the queen? This is where I don't understand this plot point, why it exists at all.
Well, it's so she has a decoy.
Yeah,
but
but
send
I mean,
the decoy in the more dangerous situation.
right? And or even the fact that like I can understand a queen having a decoy, while they're ruling their own planet, but like why keep that charade up for two Jedi on a Hutt ruled planet?
It seems like she's going so that she can like influence them in some way,
Mhm.
but that totally backfires on her because they just don't do anything she says.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a line where she's like, the queen won't approve, and Qui-Gon's literally, the queen doesn't need to know.
Yeah. If only he was perceptive enough with perhaps some kind of space magic.
Oh my god! And the book hits you on the head with like, "Hey guys, Padme is Amidala." Like just continuously, like when they get to Coruscant, it's hilarious because the book's literally like, "But Anakin couldn't find Padme. Where did she go?" Anyway, so Qui-Gon's like, okay, you can come with me. And in fact, in the book, he's like, well, this kind of works better because now we seem almost like a weird, strange family of some sort.
Right.
Because now we got a child with us, a 14-year-old child.
The 60-year-old man, some weird lizard amphibian, an R2 unit, and a 14-year-old girl.
And a 14-year-old girl.
Walk into a bar.
So they go. And okay, so now this is my first big note.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this. I think it cuts away to something and then it cuts back. I can't exactly remember.
Probably a phone call.
Probably a phone call where he's like, I'll send Darth Maul, my apprentice. Where he's like, there's no reason for him to like show them Darth Maul at that moment.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that particular phone call where Sheev is sitting at as a hologram. So like, did he take the call on the toilet? But then why would Darth Maul walk up from behind and just like...
The only thing that makes sense is a conference call of some sort. So
a Sith conference call.
A Sith conference call. So yeah, he's like, I'll send my apprentice Darth Maul to deal with them. I'm not sure where they've gone, but he'll find them somehow. The book doesn't even explain how he finds them. He just does.
Through the Force.
Well, unless you explain that Tatooine was literally the only planet they could get to. Like it was the closest planet, so that's where Darth Maul started. That's the only way
maybe.
And that's again, it's like
how big is this galaxy?
Unsaid dialogue that doesn't explain things well, which is weird because like Tatooine is explained earlier as like an outer rim planet way out there, and then the Naboo is part of the Republic, and it's like the closest planet.
Yeah,
to it.
well, that's the thing because Luke is like, if the galaxy has a bright center, this is the world that's the farthest from.
Unless it was the closest planet not controlled by the Trade Federation. Which might make some sense.
But even closest planet from a Republic planet?
Who can know? Who can know? That's my answer to that.
I need a space map.
We don't have an official canon space map anymore. Actually, there's people that have like tried to transcribe the one that we see in Force Awakens.
Oh, that's a
Good
thankless job.
Luck. Okay,
I'm a nerd, but not that big.
So anyway, Darth Maul. We cut back, and they're entering the city, and I have it written down here. Oh no, we gotta go back to Darth Maul because there's a couple lines that say, Palpatine does say the line, "I want that treaty signed."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "We can't find the Queen," and he's like, "It's impossible," and he's like, "Not for a Sith," and that's when Darth Maul, and that's pretty badass. But yeah, you're right. He's kind of sitting on the toilet, and that's kind of
strange. It's like. Who takes a holocall sitting?
It's strange. Well, apparently the Council of Naboo does.
Oh, that's yeah.
Well, okay, I have to back up a little bit because I have one note that I didn't touch on. So when they bring Padme out to them, and he's like, the Queen commands that Padme. Qui-Gon goes, "No more commands from Her Highness."
Yep.
This is the only command that we've had from Her Highness up to this point.
I know.
Like Qui-Gon's just like, God, this dumb keeps telling me what to do. No, you've literally done everything you've wanted at this point. You showed up with her. You're like, we're going to get off this planet. And she's like, and you're like, too bad. You get off the planet. And they're like, we're going to go to Tatooine. And everyone's like, and you're like, too bad. And then you're like, you're going to the thing. Like,
I love how too, when they're leaving, his justification is just basically, trust me.
Yeah.
Just trust me.
Just trust me. I'm a Jedi.
And then when it's just like, could you show a little bit of trust the other way?
No. Anyway, so here's the moment I wanted to get to. and this is probably the last moment that we'll have time for this podcast. So Qui-Gon, so it cuts back. It's like the classic Star Wars wipe across the scene. And Qui-Gon, it literally starts him saying, moisture farmers for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Just that line. And I went, wait, and I paused the movie and I was like, there's got to be something missing here. Because it's like, it's coming in, it's like a hard cut in. Qui-Gon says something completely out of context, and then the conversation continues.
Yes.
So it feels like there's 30 seconds of dialogue where
Before.
Padme was like, how do people live on a desert planet or something? But instead, we like, for some strange reason, they were like, no, cut that line out.
Yeah.
And go straight to this. And I was like, I seriously thought that there was like a problem with the copy that I had of the movie. So I went to YouTube
and looked up the scene.
And I looked up the scene and I watched it again. It's the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So someone in the editing room, and just for context, I'm a video editor. That's what I do. People pay me to do that. That's how I pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
Someone decided, and I'm guessing it was George Lucas, that he was like, we need to cut time out of this movie. How do we do that? Just cut the first 30 seconds out of the scene.
Right.
Right? And it just feels so awkward. So awkward.
You know that big jumpy flippy laser sword battle that we got at the end that takes 20 minutes? A bit of an exaggeration with Phantom Menace. It's not that long.
Yeah.
Could we cut 30 seconds out of that? No. We'll just cut this dialogue.
Yeah, just cut this dialogue that opens the scene and makes what Qui-Gon's saying make sense.
People aren't here to see Natalie Portman say, how do people live on Tatooine?
Well, and the funny thing is that there's actually a scene later on where they kind of cut into the middle of a conversation, and it's like Senator Palpatine's talking about something, and it's actually done really well. And like, because you can do that, you can cut into like a scene like they're just, but it has to be particular. You got to set it up like clearly we're just jumping in here.
Yeah,
but it's not done well here because there's like wipe, pause, line, continue, and you're like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, I know moisture farmers are on Tatooine, and so this is where I went back to the book.
Oh, what did Terry Brooks have to say?
So every scene on Tatooine where it's just two characters talking to them is about 50% longer in the book.
Really?
Yes.
More dialogue.
Way more dialogue, especially between Anakin and Padme.
Oh, this is gonna play into a problem I have with the movie.
In fact, there are more scenes with Anakin and Padme in the book. And I am just going to tease that.
Oh, for next time.
And we'll talk about that next time. So,
that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you guys later.